Chair recognizes the Honorable Sheryl Kennedy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I remember shadowing Pam Ferris last year on a day when folks were giving their farewell speech. There was a young representative who was not coming back due to an election outcome. He spoke for about 45 minutes. I will not be doing that. When my former colleagues from the education community ask me what I enjoy most about serving, I reflect on why I ran for this seat in the first place: to be a voice at the table for a fully and equitably funded public school system. And after explaining the difference between appropriations and policy, I would share that my favorite part about serving were the conversations had when we weren't in committee or voting on anything specifically. My favorite part of serving has been speaking with my current colleagues on both sides of the aisle about education policy and hopefully making a difference in their understanding of our current system, pre-K through college public education. We had many of these conversations in the bipartisan Educators Caucus with the support and friendship of my colleague Brad Paquette. I also had many of these conversations with the current chairperson of the K-12 Appropriations Committee, Erin Miller. I respect and appreciate them both, and I look forward to seeing the continued work of the Educators Caucus and leave it in good hands with my friend and colleague, Lori Stone. But to be frank, we simply need to move to a place in this government where we finally fill the funding gaps for our schools. You know I couldn't resist taking this one last shot. Public education is a civil right that should be fully funded and supported at the actual cost of educating our children. I will continue advocating for this work until schools are provided at least $11,000 per pupil in a weighted model that moves more money where it is needed most. In addition, I will continue to work for a minimum of the 40% funding for special education from the federal government, as was promised when IDEA was originally passed in 1975. This is a matter of civil rights and social justice and will continue to be my life's work. I am appreciative of my partner and chairperson, Rep. Van Werkum of the MDARD Appropriations Committee, of which I was privileged to be the vice chair. It was an honor to advocate for important programs such as Double Up Food Bucks to bring healthier food to those who need it, and many agricultural science and economic development programs to help support the agricultural community of the 48th District and the state of Michigan. I think Rep. Van Werkum and I probably had the least contentious committee partnership, and for that I am grateful. I also served on corrections appropriations and learned so much through the process. My lens of the correction systems is forever changed because of this work. I am so thankful to our public servants who work to keep our PRISM system safe, clean, healthy, and uplifting to those who seek a second chance. I carry with me so much pride for having served in the House during this term. Forever, I will know that I was a member of the 100th term of this House. I was a part of a pink wave that moved our caucus to full gender parity with the addition of my friend and colleague, Cynthia Neely. I was also part of a blue wave that allowed me to serve with a governor that I believe will go down in history as one of Michigan's most effective of all time, against many odds. I was also a part of an educators wave that brought in many teachers like myself in both chambers of this beautiful building. I'm so honored and consider myself blessed to have been elected for this time and to have served during this term with all of its unique budgetary challenges and attributes. I've also learned so much about the brains behind the beauty. Specifically, I appreciate the brilliance and expertise of Andy Salon, Dan Feinberg, Bill Hamilton, Ashley Steffen, Cynthia Paul, Robin Risco, Jasmine Tompkins, and Brandy Johnson. I invite them all to call me regularly so I can get in my policy nerd fix. Please, please, please call me. It has been a pleasure to work with you all. Alongside them, I have learned the value of communications when advocating for those policies, and especially my good friends Ray DeBrander, David Breed, and Jeremy Herlisek, and the amazing work that they do to make us all look entirely more attractive than any of us deserve to. Finally, I would like to thank Chief Sergeant Dixon and all of the sergeants who have worked to keep us safe. You all are my heroes. Also, Sally for keeping the coffee on even in the wee hours of the morning. I feel like all of you deserve a medal for your tireless and giving service. Thank you, Rep. Yarrick, for allowing me to participate in a loving remembrance of a former student. It meant everything to me. Thank you to my husband, Mike, who is honestly relieved that I am out of this business for a while, and my adult children and their spouses, David and Megan, Joe and Stephanie, and Carissa, who hopefully learned that thick skin is necessary in life, and if you have a moral compass, what other people say in an election really doesn't matter. It does not change God's plans or his love for you. I would be untruthful if I also said untruthful if I also didn't share that I have some regrets, most of which is that I won't be returning in January. I will miss my friends. Too many to mention, but especially my freshman class, my Genesee County partners, Senator Ananick, Rep. Sneller, Rep. Cherry, both Rep. Neely's, and Rep. Mueller. We made a great team, and I have so appreciated my mentors, Chris Gregg and Donna Lisinski. I love and respect you both. I will miss Team Kennedy terribly. My staffers, Brooke Hansen and Amber Wise, have served literally thousands of constituents through the pandemic. If you don't know Brooke, she is a policy genius. Amber is a social worker at heart, is amazing at constituent services, and has learned policy from the best, her gal Brooke. These two strong women have been like my own family, and I know they are going to do great things for this body in the future. I also will miss the fun and antics of my seatmates, Brenda Carter and Cynthia Johnson, and those within talking distance, Angela Whitwer, Alex Garza, Frank Liberati, Kevin Coleman, Julie Brixey, Latanya Garrett, and of course, our Isaac Robinson. Technically, Isaac sat a few rows back, but it often felt like he was right behind me with his larger-than-life presence. When I was a little girl in school, I was often seated next to the student who needed redirection, a quiet seatmate, or positive peer relationships. Sitting with this crew was kind of like that. I love you guys, and I will forever value your friendship. I will really miss our group chats and regular COVID virtual game nights that helped me get through the worst of the pandemic. When I was a teacher, I put a box in front of my classroom for my students. It was called the Remember When box. Whenever something funny or memorable happened in the classroom, a student could write that memory on a slip of paper beginning with the words, "Remember when." At the end of the year, we would open the box and read the slips of paper, appreciating those little moments that had made us grow closer as a community and as a family. If the house had a Remember When box, these are some of the memories I would have added. Remember when the very last name to be called on seat selection day was Sheryl Kennedy? I was certain I was going to be completely missed. Remember when John Hoadley came up to me on the first day and said, "Are you Mrs. Kennedy, Kevin Nill's teacher? Can I get a picture with you and send it to my good friend Kevin?" I remember when Jelani literally, and this is not the first time he's heard this, literally hurdled over every single desk between the dais and Rep. Isaacson's desk to keep him from getting kicked out when he was being gavelled down again. And I have told Jelani many times that he knows when I am old in the nursing home and have lost every memory of my family, the memory of his face at that moment will still be there. Remember when Berenda and I were collecting money for a betting pool regarding when we were finally going to end session on no-fault night? Then we thought better of it, thought it was probably illegal, and let Cynthia do it. Remember when Cindy Neely thought she was just coming into session to sign some paperwork, but ended up with a whole swearing-in ceremony and didn't go home till 2 a.m.? Remember when Leslie Love and Sheryl Kennedy did DC? It was so great getting to know you, Leslie, and I will value the friendship we began there. Remember when Sarah Anthony drove me around on many, many errands when I had a broken arm? God bless you. I think you may have even helped me get dressed. I don't know. I was still on drugs. Thank you, Sarah, for your friendship. I remember when Ronnie Peterson said absolutely the nicest things to this freshman representative after her first floor speech. Ronnie, I respect you so much, and that meant everything to me. Remember when Christy Pagan had twins and let me look at her every day with the "I wish I were a grandma" look? Remember when LaTanya Garrett offered to let me be her adopted grandmother for her children? Side note, I really want to be a grandma. Remember playing pandemic house party before caucus meetings? You know who you are. Remember when the crazy people with the scary voices were screaming outside our doors, some of them intent on hurting all of us in a bipartisan way and burning down this beautiful building? I wonder how much we would have cared about who was blue or red if they'd been successful. I know we would have done everything we could for each other. I sure hope someone who's, maybe has authority over these things makes sure those rules are changed so that never happens again. Remember meeting off-site for great discussions about education in Ed Caucus and really being honest with each other about education in our great state? Imagine how effective this body would be if we could always interact in that way. We would get so many things done for the people of Michigan. Remember a desk draped in black because of this terrible pandemic. This, sadly, I will always remember. Which leads me to my last point. I never intended to be a politician. I've simply desired to do God's work and to serve others. Unlike some in this room, my husband nor my father served before me. I did not cut my teeth as a staffer or work alongside great people in DC before I came here. I'm not a person of means who can do this work for the fun of it or for the title. Not that there is anything wrong with any of those scenarios. But they do speak to the privilege that many of us come to this body with and will return to when we leave. My father didn't speak English until he was taught English in a public school at the age of 5. My mother didn't graduate from high school until she was 46, and I remember that day. But together with the support of a system that worked for everyone, they provided a middle-class life to their 5 children, one of them who even attained her PhD and served in the State House. At the end of every service at my church, we say in community, "And now, Lord, send us out to do the work you have given us to do." I believe that God directed me to this seat, in this house, at this time, to do that work. I believe just as strongly that my work is not done, and I am excited about the next work God has in store for me. That work will be continuing to advocate for the benefit of public education in some way or fashion, and who knows, I might even come back someday. It is in God's hands, and for all of that, and for all of this, here in this house, I am thankful. I wish you all God's blessings, and hope that every one of you and all of the new members entering this body next term accomplish much for the people we serve. Thank you all for your friendship, time, and attention.